We're back with Mark. We were talking about SWORD, S-O-R-D, S.O.R.D, Special Operations Recovery Drag, and actually we'll have the link up here shortly over at Clay and Iron for the SWORD Rescue. I guess you're setting up a new website because your prophetic word has been so long on SWORD Rescue, just SWORDRESCUE.com, all your prophetic words and your videos, that you're setting up a separate business site for the firefighter, EMT, kind of military rescue, which, by the way, is more and more we're having these disasters, earthquakes, fires, all kinds of disasters, and people need to realize this technology will save lives, won't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can rescue your loved ones, your pets, anything like that.
Now, let's go back to some of the prophetic things. What do you think? I put out the term in some pictures last week called the gray swans. Gray swans are black swans that might happen. What are the events you think that might happen, and then what are the ones that, it's like with me, we're called to speak prophetically, and we have a few 3x5 cards that God tells us, thus saith the Lord, that's not our opinion, which I'm sure you have. You also have a range where you can check the Bible and what you already know is true, and then you can kind of speculate with a great deal of predictive accuracy of what could happen and what's probable to happen. What are the kind of events that you expect to happen, or what are called the coming prophetic events, and then what are what are called the gray swan, the things that might happen, good and bad?
Well, the one event that's coming will be the arrest warrants. I've been talking about this for the last year and a half. Is that when they start rounding these people up, what may happen will be civil unrest. There could possibly be some civil unrest in parts of the country.
So beyond the idea, and I totally agree, I think this year is going to be a year of tremendous amounts of division in the country, because when these arrests come down, especially people like Hillary Clinton, Podesta, Barack Obama is very likely to be arrested, as well as even Mr. Mueller, because he's tied up with the cover-up of 9/11, the uranium one, and even the dossier. There's all connections going back and forth here. This is going to cause a lot of consternation in America, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a possibility there could be some civil unrest in some areas. I'm not prophesying that will happen, but when I went on Jim Baker's show a year and a half ago, I released 4 objectives, and the third objective that God was releasing was that we needed to start praying at that point forward for when these arrests take place, that the Army of God can start praying and mitigate a lot of these civil unrest, because it's our job as the Army of God to blaze a trail in the spiritual so that it doesn't manifest in the natural. So that's why I released that about a year and a half ago.
Right, and I think what you're also saying is if we're the Army of God, we're neither racist nor classist, but we do want America first. And America first because if America protects itself and our borders, we can have other nations protect their borders and their business. For example, today when Trump is in Davos, he's not saying America only, he's saying America first. He's saying, hey, we're open for business, but we've got to have a level playing field. So if you benefit like China or South Korea or Japan or Europe or Germany, we have to benefit too. So it's a win-win situation, not just on a geopolitical and financial level, but on the spirit level. So we shouldn't tolerate extreme Islam as an invading force rather than people think it's an integrated religion that's somehow going to integrate with our society. It's not. It's demonically energized, isn't it?
Yeah, the two aren't going to mix, you know what I mean?
Oil and water, it's not going to happen.
Right, exactly. And you've got the moderate Muslims, I guess, who, even a radical Muslim, if you've got enough power and authority, hopefully we can change some of these people and convert them back to Christianity. But, it's very hard when they're demon-possessed like that.
Well, we have on the program regularly expert, we talk about politicalislam.com, and we've had him on the program last week. We had Bill Warner on, former Tennessee State University professor who's translated the Hadith and the Quran in the lineal time so you can actually understand what Islam is about. Islam is a demonic mind control situation pretending to be a religion.
This video belongs to lordsprophecy.com. Please visit our website for more update.
So it's a bad situation, and I think America can kind of, as they say, translate, but we're even seeing Jesus Christ showing up. We've had with Jonathan Gray in Africa and other nations where a missionary can't show up, so Jesus himself shows up and starts converting these people with miracles.
Right, and that's what we need to be praying to start happening. Where God gives us the authority to go into some of these areas to convert these people.
Yeah, they perfectly know about Jesus, but they think he's just another prophet like Muhammad. You don't realize he's a full incarnation of the Most High God in flesh. That's why his name Yahashua HaMashiach means the one who saves, who's the indwelling flesh of the Eternal One. That's what his name means. Okay, people need to know that. He's not just another prophet, isn't he?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Mark, what do you see as possible other events happening this year?
Well, one of the other things, too, that the Lord's showing me is about the debt. And, the Lord's, there's been a lot of prophets in the past that have prophesied, like Kim Clements prophesied there would be a stone, a simple stone that would slay the debt. But the Lord, I'm working on a prophetic word now where the Lord is talking about this energy explosion because, I prophesied in last year of December, it was energy, where America and Israel will be energy independent. Well, that is now coming to a head right now.
Absolutely.
Because one of the signs in the prophecy talked about a sign would be given for the energy explosion, like it will erupt from the depths, just like the volcano erupts from the depths, and that would be the sign to signal the release of the oil. And we just had that sign, and it was Mount Cinnabon in Sumatra was a sign. And so...
Yeah, you're talking about the volcano going out Cinnabon, right?
Yeah, correct. So now what's happening is one of my business partners is an oil guy, and he will tell you right now, this is what they're not reporting in the news, is that right now, he's a geologist, and they've said that for last 10 years, geologists have been going all over the country. And they've been looking for oil because they knew at some point it would open up.
You're talking about in Israel or here in America?
Here in America. And but they knew at some point it would open up because, Obama had stopped all the permitting. He stopped everything.
Yeah, off every coast, basically, including Anwar.
Yeah, right. So all these companies went to other countries. So what's happening and what you're not seeing right now is that all these oil rigs, all these drilling rigs, these companies and these workers, all their equipment, they're all picking up right now, and they're moving back here as we speak. And that's what you're not hearing in the news right now. We are fixing to have the largest energy oil explosion in America's history. And I believe the same thing is happening with Israel as well.
Well, let me give you a word about Israel. I was asked by Hayseed Stevens back in June of 1999 to travel to the Feast of Sukkot, to the southwest end of the Dead Sea, to the Valley of Hinnon, they call it, with at the salt dome called right beside what's called the Lot's Wife Pillar. And that was a 26,000-foot salt dome over the largest supply of oil, and there's 14.2 trillion with the T barrels of oil right in Israel. Mark, I honestly think that Trump is going to survive the meeting with Mueller, survive the attempt over and over again by the leftists and rhinos and the so-called people that are crazy. One of the things I posted up yesterday was a little picture that showed a woman that was at one of these so-called Dreamer rallies. It says, defend Dreamers, deport Trump. Like, why would they be stupid enough to connect themselves to the Democratic Party that have harmed blacks and Hispanic for decades, when in fact Trump defends the Dreamers in DACA, but he says, I want to make sure we don't have DACA 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and he'll probably not give them immediate amnesty. He'll give them a right, both them and their parents, 4 million of them, to stay in America with permanent resident status, and it'll take them 8 to 9 to 12 years to get citizenship like anybody else applying from Germany or anywhere else. Why do they think that Trump is against them when, in fact, he's the most non-racist president we've ever had? These leftists don't even want an opinion by a conservative on the university campuses. Why would he think that Trump is against him? He's not. He just wants to fix immigration. And the DACA is just part of that whole process. So I'm amazed that I see all of Trump's actions as truly Christian, don't you?
Absolutely. And again, America's got to come first. God's into borders. He's into security. He wants to secure America. Borders are all throughout the Bible. Walls are all throughout the Bible. People say, kicking these people out of here, it's not about love. Well, I got news for you. Heaven's got a wall. Heaven's got a gate. It takes extreme vetting to get into heaven. So what is the problem? God is into walls of security. So, it's almost like, well, you don't have a problem deporting these kids, or you have a problem deporting these kids, but you don't have a problem aborting these kids. So, it's all in how they're trying to spin it. It's all in how their theology is, their ideology, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's twisted. It's a Leviathan spirit twisting.
But you can easily break it down if you just sat there. The problem is they don't even want to sit like Ben Shapiro has been blocked. They actually blocked the University of Connecticut, blocked citizens or taxpayers from a university supported by taxpayers to even hear Ben Shapiro's comments. Now, you don't have to agree with everything Ben Shapiro says, because some of the things I say are a little bit over the top, like he didn't like the idea of Roy Moore running. But I can see why he would make his comment, because Roy had to clear his name first before he ran, because so many people are pretty wishy-washy about their idea whether or not he was actually doing something wrong with younger women, which is a bold-faced lie. Now, there are real criminals in Hollywood and Washington, D.C. and so on that are abusing women and children, and the pedophiles are not only abusing these kids sexually, they're eating them in sexual, demonic, ceremonies. And people they don't want to believe that. So these DACA kids, just like some of these kids that showed up pregnant, they want our government to pay for foreigners coming here for even an abortion. I think it's obscene, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my taxpayer money should not be going for something that I don't believe in, that's for sure.
Yeah, in fact, it tries to make sure that our money becomes blood money. It's trying to say, hey, you're a good Christian, but we're going to use your money to abort this baby and kill it.
Right.
And if they don't say it was part of the mother, no, it's not. It's a separate genetic identity. It's dependent on the mother, but it's not the mother. Okay, this is murder. And if a woman has an ultrasound in Oklahoma, which is a law there, 78% of women who are already planning an abortion to sign the papers refuse to do the abortion if they've seen an ultrasound of their baby by state law. 78%. So people need to wake up, okay? Even if you're a pro-abortionist, you're an idiot. This is not murder. This is murder. It's like asking a conciliary who has killed 300 people if it's murder or not. How stupid can they be? How much can they lie right to your face, Taqiya and Maruna, like the Muslims? To lie to your face, it's not murder when it is. These are called jigsaw babies, and if you don't add up all the parts and leave a piece of the skull or an arm or leg in there, the mother's going to die of puerperal sepsis or bleed to death. Come on, let's get real.
Well,
all right?
Again, I go back to that what we were talking about earlier, where they don't care about your right to choose. They don't care about a woman's health. All they want is that baby aborted. They sacrifice to their God.
I got to say kind of a sacred joke. People are always into their rights. What about their wrongs? We abandon God, don't we? And America is reversing that. After the devil, Abominator, who says, yes, we can, which if you take the reverse speech is, thank you, Satan, that monster is still trying to do a coup against Donald Trump. He needs to go to the big house and stay in Orange and not get airtime or interviews anymore. So does Hillary Rodham Clinton, demonically possessed. And we need to pray for those people because they're a lost brother and sister, and it's not so much to save them geopolitically, save their soul from eternal annihilation. I pray for Hillary before I go to sleep at night and first thing in the morning and all these devils, and God brings judgment on them, because when grace runs out, He is the one who brings judgment. We should never pray for judgment on anyone. We should always pray for grace.
Correct. And, again, it doesn't mean just because we're praying to save their soul doesn't mean that divine justice still will not be served.
Judgment's still going to happen.
Yeah, it's still going to happen.
It's still going to happen. Just example, I had a woman 3 years ago, she said, Doc, I want you to pray for my son. He's a drug addict. He's done all kinds of horrible things. I said, would you mind if when your son comes into the kingdom here on earth, he is without eyes and no legs? And she said, and she paused for about a minute. I said, do you see? I said, if you come under God's judgment, He may give him salvation and save his soul, but he'll have to enter the kingdom without eyes or legs. And people have to understand that the judgment's still going to fall on these monsters of what they've done, but He may save their soul from eternal annihilation.
Right. And it's still our job to pray for that.
Absolutely. And by the way, you bring judgment when you pray for grace. This is the most powerful tool we have is prayer. Whether you're praying for resolution of something where you had, instead of the Santa Claus arriving, you had Krampus arriving, the devil, for so-called Christmas. More people commit suicide, get serious health problems, come down with cancer, stroke, or heart attack at Christmas, and they're shortly thereafter than any other time of the year. That's because it's a time for evil. It's not Christmas, the birthday of Jesus. It's the birth of what's called Osiris, the god of the underworld, another name for Satan, resurrecting around the time when the sun's far away and 3 days dances in the sky. People need to know these are ancient Druidic satanic ceremonies they've incorporated into so-called Christianity. It's not Christian.
Correct. Some of the stuff is like you said, has been taken back from history. And
well, Constantine was a pagan right from the day that he died on his deathbed. He didn't have a deathbed conversion. He integrated Satanism and Druidism directly into the so-called Christian faith because that's how he ruled his empire. That's why it was the unholy Roman Empire from the time of Constantine.
Sure.
So you've brought peace, you've brought prophetic words, and we're going to put those everywhere. And, of course, I'll put up your link to the Sword Rescue as well. Again, the website is Sword Rescue, SORDRESCUE.com. You can see your videos and all those prophetic words, including the latest one, which is the January 19th. You can download those files. Thank you, Mark. We need to have you back on regularly to boost our spirits and make us realize no matter how good or bad things get, God is with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for listening out there.